you say, this is Nana and Papa?
This is Nana and Papa. This is Nana and Papa.
Good job.
Okay, the two little beautiful girls that introduced us are our new granddaughters, Sophia and Aria. When I adopted Josh, one of the fringe benefits of having a new son is we got his family, which included his wife Michelle and these two little girls who are now our granddaughters. So, don't we have beautiful new grandchildren? Yes, we do.
They're super cute. And
They came to visit us this week, and we went swimming. And that's why you see them in their swimsuits, as we were down at the pool when Nana filmed that.
yeah, it was a good time.
We had a very good time.
It was fun. I wore me out, and I got sunburned, but it's all right.
We discovered my emphysema and the pool are not a real good mix. Of course, that's why we haven't been on for 2 weeks, is my emphysema hasn't been a real good mix with anything of late. And neither has my neuropathy.
Well, and I think that the smoke from the forest fires, I think it may be affecting your breathing more than we realize.
Could be. My breathing has not been good. Anyway, in fact, this will tell you how not good it's been. I haven't been to a movie in 2 weeks. I haven't even watched a movie on TV in 2 weeks. I did watch another episode, or I tried to watch another episode of Chinese Born in America, and I love Michelle Yeoh, but I am having a hard time getting into that show. It's just
Not your cup of tea.
not my jam.
It's okay. I've been mostly listening to books, but watching one of my podcasts,
Oh,
The Wool Patch, they review this show, The Sewing Bee, in the UK, but it's not filmed. Like, can't watch it here.
yeah.
I really would like to watch that show. I think it would be a lot. It's interesting. It's kind of like the British baking show, but for sewing.
I got something just occurred to me. Got to give a shout out to our friend Gary Boston. He just finished his AIDS ride.
Yes, he did.
It's a long ride. If Gary wanted me to do that ride with him, he would have to hook a wagon onto his bike and pull my ass, because that ain't happening. But way to go, Gary. He raised a good bunch of money for AIDS Research Foundation, so
Well, they do
very proud
research,
of
but
him.
they also do provide medical for those that need it, treatment and doctors and housing if they need.
Gary's a really good guy. I encourage you all to go check out Gary Knits and Rides. He's all over the place. I think he's on Instagram and
Instagram, and he's on YouTube. He has a podcast.
he has a podcast on YouTube. But dude could really use your support, because he's doing good things for people, because he's good people. So
Yeah, if you ever need, like, you want to get involved, you want to make a difference, Gary makes an extra effort to find out all the things that he can find out of what people are doing and lists it in his show, but also in his notes. So lots of ways to donate, do things, even places where you can buy things, but where proceeds of your sales go to good things. So
I know when it first came out, everybody didn't care about AIDS because it was only killing gay people. And then when AIDS crossed the barrier between killing gay people and killing straight people, well, now we need to do something about this disease. That's shameful, but
and it hurts.
at least we're doing something about it now.
But even now, though, there's lots of people who are like, whatever. Anyway,
I know, but they're not
we'll
nice
focus
people.
on the good things. I have a lot to go through today.
You go through a lot, because I got books. I got lots of, well,
I
okay,
have
I don't
a
have
book.
lots of books. I've been reading lots of books, and I started reading a new series by a new pair of authors, Brenda Trim and Chris Kane, I think is her name. Mm-hmm. And the first 3 books were all right. I liked them. I still like the series, but then they started adding sex, which was totally unnecessary. And you have to skim through, when they get started, you have to skim through all the bullshit until you get to, oh, okay, we're back to the story. So I don't know.
I had that in one of my books. I didn't. I I finished it because I wanted to know what happened, but I won't read anymore. And it was book one of a whole bunch of series, but I won't be.
I see. That's where I'm at. Is I want to see how this story finishes. And I'm at book 8, so it's really hard to just stop. But
I do wish. I mean, I know what happens when people. I don't need graphic details. I don't need a picture.
yeah, I've had sex. I don't need it explained to me. I'm 60 years old. Okay.
I have one. I didn't write down, but I did 2. The one that I don't want to do again, but the second one is the Lost for Words bookshop. Yeah, Lost for. Oh, so good, so good. But let me, because people may be looking and going, "What is that?" This is the Be Still tea, and it's by Twin Stitch Designs. She's a designer, I think, in Canada. You can't see it, but there's a little lace up here, and there's some lace down below. Not a lot, just a little to add some interest. The yarn that I'm using, the pink, is Hedgehog Fibres, and I don't remember the colorway. My apologies. I want to say it was something like Poison or something, but I don't remember for sure. It'll be in the notes below, though. And then this is Hill Country Weavers Naturally, but their Naturally has all kinds of different yarns. This one was a merino yak silk.
Now, was Knitting Public last weekend that we went to?
Yeah, we
or
went.
the weekend before?
It was the weekend before, I think.
I don't remember. I think we talked about it. I don't know.
No, because we haven't. I don't think maybe. I don't know. But we did go to Knit. No, we did because we recorded after Knit in Public.
Okay, yeah.
That's what we did. So, we haven't literally have not gone anywhere we haven't had to since.
Well, we needed to, but
no, I'm just saying it has been either somewhere between 97 and 101.
103. 103.
Oh, we did reach 103.
Yeah.
Anyway, and for Celsius, I think that puts it from 36 or 38 to 41.
I have no
But
idea.
I'm not exactly certain. But it's hot. And and so we're just
miserable.
staying in. Because if we stay in, we can skip the miserable out there.
We haven't been walking, and I need to walk, but I haven't been able to walk.
I have been only going in the mornings. I've only been doing my hall crawl in the morning because at 7 o'clock in the morning when it's finally light outside, I can handle the heat because it's only 80 degrees.
oh no, it's not. I looked, and this morning it was 87
Well,
in the dark at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'm just
and
saying.
yes, I was awake at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Is still better than 100.
Yes.
Anyhow, I can handle it at that point, but I can't. I couldn't do it.
Go
ahead. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
You have lots of time. Trust me, you are not going to run out of time. So,
well,
I knit this using a US 4 for the regular, and then the ribbing at the bottom is in a US 3. I did make that. That's a modification I made. I also I do this on all circular yoke sweaters. I cast on after the first increase, and then I knit, and then I come back and pick up and knit my ribbing or knit my neckband, because I've just found that if I cast it on, some patterns have the neck up here tight, super tight, or some have them falling off my shoulders. So if I just go back and then do an immediate decrease and then put in the ribbing, I can control where that lands. So I generally do that on all patterns now. that are circular yokes. Obviously, you can't do that if it's a set-in sleeve, but and then
I hope you all know what she's talking about because I don't.
okay, a circular yoke is
I don't
no,
need
but there
to.
may be somebody there that don't know. They're knit around, okay, and you just keep going around and around and around.
That would be the circular part of it.
So a set-in sleeve, you knit the front, you knit this, and you knit the back, and there's this sleeve hole, and you set in the sleeve
Huh.
so that you have a seam here,
Huh.
which fit you better, but are a different way of constructing.
Sounds like a lot more work.
A little bit. It's all good.
That's okay. I don't do it, so I'm cool with that. Knit away, baby. Knit away.
I've had some successes this week, or in the last 2 weeks, and I've had some epic failures in the last 2 weeks.
Oh my! You should have heard the sailor come out of her.
So let's talk about the successes.
Let's talk about the successes.
And then we'll get into the failures.
The blue streaks.
My first finished object this week is, or this last 2 weeks technically, is a pair of socks. Now, these are cheater socks. Okay, some people say they're cheaters, some don't. The tube for the sock was cranked by Aqua at Lefty Knitter. Thank you, Aquila. You make knitting socks for me so much easier.
She makes it easier for anybody that hires her. It's not just Valerie.
Yeah, you can order them on her Etsy store. It's Knitty Bow Fiber. It'll be linked below.
Or
and
you can just order your yarn and have it sent to her and
you
pay
still
her,
have
and
to,
she'll. You don't have to buy yarn, ship it to her from your house. You can just buy it from Ted Knits or whoever you buy your yarn from, because God knows there's a gazillion people selling it. Drug dealers. Anyway, whoever you get your fix from, just have them ship it to Aquila and tell her what size. See, she didn't tell Aquila the right size, so these are too big.
Yeah, but this was was my fault.
These fit me. You know how many pairs of socks I have that she knit for her that fit me?
Quite a few.
You would think after, I don't know, 10 pairs, the woman would figure out that this foot and her foot, two different foots.
But I finished a pair of socks and they're done.
She did.
Oh, and the yarn, the green is from Nancy at Trilogy Yarns.
It's sparkly green in case you can't tell.
And the ribbing, the toes, and the cuffs are in a self-striping yarn from TalyaInLove. She is a podcaster from currently in Denmark, but she's originally from, why is it not?
Ukraine?
Yes.
Is that the girl?
Yeah, she's from Ukraine. Her husband is from Denmark. But, you know what? I think it's Denmark. I wonder if it's Denmark or if it's the Netherlands. Anyway.
I could have sworn she's in the Netherlands.
I can't remember. But either way, her husband is from where she's at now. But she's originally from Ukraine. Her family, last I heard, is still in the Ukraine. And it just keeps, that part of the world keeps getting scarier and scarier and scarier. I hope that we can find a way to end the violence and the bloodshed and but anyway, but my socks are done. I knit my socks on a US 1. And in this case, it was 64 stitches, or was it 72. So for my foot, I really need a 64, which is good because I have 64 stitch tubes from Aquila too. I also finished the vest
for Safiyyah.
For Safiyyah, and This is knit with Knit Picks Stroll in just black and white. Can you hold it up so I can go over some things? I started at the bottom and cast on for the ribbing, and then I did a section in black, and then started my squares, and then solid section, squares, solid section, squares, solid section on the side. I knit the whole front, then I knit the whole back, then I seamed here, and then I seamed on the top. And then I picked up for the ribbing and knit the ribbing. I had a lot of false starts on this ribbing. And I just want to say a huge thank you to, she's a viewer, but she's a friend. She comes to my Zooms, Valerie. She's in Bolivia. She spells her name the right way. Anyway, and I asked her because I was really struggling. I had seen tutorials on the tubes, on the YouTubes, on how to pick up for a V-neck, and their advice was not good advice. So, I followed it and it failed, and followed it and failed, and followed it and failed. And then, so she gave me her advice. It is the first time of me picking up a V-neck and adding ribbing. I am trying to write a pattern for it, but I'm going to be honest, I may just give it up. I have spent, I don't even know how many hours so far trying to grade it across the sizes. And it's a lot of work, and I don't have any intention to go back to doing design for a living or making money from designing, and to put that much work into something that I'm not trying to make a living from, not trying to earn something from.
And it's something you're not going to get a return off from all of the time you invested.
Even after, I would need to tech edit, and I looked into tech editing, and due to the complicatedness of this pattern, it's looking like the cost of tech editing the pattern is going to be anywhere from $100 to $200.
And even if you were selling the pattern, you got to sell a lot of patterns to actually get $200 profit.
Yeah, back, and not counting the hours and hours and hours. Because I've already, even though I don't have the pattern ready to go to a tech editor, I have already put in probably 30 hours trying to write up what it needs to be, trying to change it from just the size that it is to the smaller sizes and the bigger sizes, and I don't have it done because it's not my math. It's not simple math, because the goal is to keep the same number of squares in the same width while changing the size. And so what I have to do is, for some of the sizes, I need to change the number of stitches per square and the number of rows per square, but still keeping it the same pattern. And it's just not as simple as...
Well, it's impossible to do what you're talking about, because if you're going to make it get bigger, it's either got to get more squares or get bigger squares. You can't keep the same number of squares and keep them the same size.
Well, I'm not saying the same size. I'm saying I know I have the same number coming across, the same number of squares here, same number of squares. So I have to, for smaller sizes, remove a stitch, and remove a stitch, remove a stitch, remove a stitch to make it, and remove a row to make the squares smaller.
I'm thinking there should be a logarithm you could work out on that, but
so it's just, when I tried it out and I'm like, okay, so I removed one stitch and then I did the math to see what it would turn out, it made it too small. And then when I added, it made it too big. And so it's more work than I want. So all I will say is, if there is a size that you want, message me, send an email. If I get enough emails to cover the cost of me, then maybe I'll consider, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's just one off, I can write up a pattern for that size and send it to that person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't. A lot of headache trying to sort that out. But it's done and it's ready to go to Safiyyah, so that's good.
We'll take that Nana DNA out of that sweater.
I never knit anything without leaving DNA evidence. So
whoever knit the yarn for the socks apparently had some leftover tinsel from Christmas, because it got a little silver sparklies.
I ordered it that way.
I know you ordered it that way.
I have a whole sweaters quantity for sparkly sweater for me.
Yes, my love.
Okay, so that's it for my finished objects. Did you want to talk about?
New book series by D.K. Holmberg. He's co-writing with Dustin Porta. I don't know how much co-writing actually goes on, or whether or not Dustin Porta is just piggybacking off from D.K. Holmberg, because D.K. Holmberg has thousands of readers, and therefore Dustin Porta now has thousands of readers where he would have had none. I don't know if that's how that works, but plausible. But it's a new series about shadow dragons, and book one is called Dragon's Hide. And it's an interesting new twist. It's dragon riders, magic, but the main character happens to be a dragon rider who can't ride his dragon because his dragon never got bigger than a cat. So his dragon rides him. Somebody's riding, it's all the same. It didn't say you were riding a dragon. If dragon riders could be a dragon riding, so still dragon riders. Dragon gives him this extra strength, even though he's a tiny little bugger. There's now 2 books in it. Third book should be coming out shortly, I think. I don't remember. But it's an interesting, as usual, no editor. So don't go in there thinking that everything's going to be spelled right, typed right. I don't believe, so far, I don't believe anybody's had a literal sex change where this paragraph it's a boy, the next paragraph it's a girl, the next paragraph is back to being a boy because the author forgot which way the character swang. So that's really annoying, all you authors out there.
Do you think we'll ever get rid of he and she?
No.
Because, I mean, if you go to, I don't know if it was Thailand or where, but somewhere over there, I was talking to somebody that's from there at work a while back, and they don't have gender. There is no he or she in their language. They don't recognize he or she.
I don't know.
It'd be interesting. I'm just curious. These are random thoughts from Nowhereville.
But there's 2 books. I like both of them. Second book had some interesting twist and plot development, so I will be interested to see where book 3 takes that little wiggle. But that pretty much covers me in books, because the other books, I read 8 books in that series of Magical Midlife Makeover.
What, can you check? Will it let you look at my Audible or no?
No. I don't know.
Maybe Amazon will? I don't know. Anyway,
Let's see.
I just can't remember what that book was. But, so, just really quick. Y'all know about the WestKnits sweater. It's getting a little love, but not a lot. to be honest, I do want to have it done by Rhinebeck, so I'm going to try and get some work done on it, but I have more important work I'm working on. Also, this is the Into the Night of the Forest, and it will be a cardigan eventually, but I did get a little work on it. I keep adding a little bit each day, but I probably won't show either one of those on the podcast until some major work has been done. But I wanted to just update that I am doing a little on each, but not significant.
Tell you what, with this horrible weather, it is the best $98 I ever spent last year getting Walmart Plus. I wholeheartedly encourage y'all that don't have Walmart Plus, check into it. $98, you get Paramount Plus for free. So you got TV to watch that has Star Trek for somebody. You get 10 cents a gallon off from your gas. With a big ass tank like mine, that's nice to have. 10 cents a gallon. Or you can get your gas at Sam's Club without paying a Sam's Club membership. You get free shipping on anything that you buy. And if you buy more than $35 of groceries, somebody else will take their sorry butt out and go in that, oh my God, heat, do your shopping for you, put it in a bag, put it in a car, drive it over and drop it off on your doorstep and go, knocka. And all you got to do is get your weary old ass out of your chair and go bring it inside and put it in the refrigerator. For free.
I have to admit, with the heat yesterday, I was going to go in the morning early, and he said, no, we'll just do. I was pretty grateful that I didn't have to. I do not like shopping. I do not like
And, you know, when gas was like $5 a gallon, it's not the kindest thought in the world, but the thought in my mind was, I get free delivery. I do not get free gas to drive to the store and pick this crap up myself.
What about you? Tip the free drivers, delivery. Don't you?
I do. Okay. Yeah, if you're not going to tip the driver, don't do it. This is how these people are making their living.
Okay.
And, you know, people are 10%. Yeah. Well, if you're a decent human being, you tip at least 15% when you go out to dinner. I think it's kind of gotten up to 18 is considered a standard tip now. I don't know. I'm not going to get into my tipping skill. I can tell you about it some other time, but it's very complicated. Anyway, if you can tip your waiter, and you should, then you can tip the guy who's bringing your groceries, because you should. Yeah, especially when that poor person has to carry your groceries up a flight of stairs. And part of our groceries was a 40-pack of water, because we live in Austin and our water comes from Texas. Enough said. If you go to the lake, which supplies your drinking water, and there are signs that tell you about limiting how much time you spend swimming in this water, and telling you that you can only eat this much of the fish that you catch in this water. Like, a bass has to be 18 inches long.
This wasn't, be careful, this was not Lake Austin. This was in Houston.
Lake Houston. But anyway.
Keep going.
A bass has to be 18 inches long in order to keep it, okay? That's a big-ass fish. 18-inch bass weighs a few pounds. And then when the state tells you adult males should not eat more than 8 ounces of this fish in a week, adult females should not eat more than 4 ounces of this fish in a week, and pregnant women and children should not eat any ounces of this fish ever.
Yeah, that's just
that scary. Big fish gonna get freezer burnt before you get around to eating all of it, because you can only have this much of that big ass fish at a time because it got too many things in there that will kill you. Catching a fish in a lake to eat should not kill you. I come from Wyoming. Okay, granted, we are at the very beginning of all the rivers. The rivers that y'all are messing up downstream start out pretty damn clean and pure and beautiful up in Wyoming. You can look down and see the bottom 30 feet below you. Yeah, you can see the fish. Problem is, if you can see the fish can see you. Fish are not as dumb as people think they are. You know, they do go to school. Anyway,
I love you.
I love you too. Hey, Father's Day is Saturday, Sunday.
You pick on me all the time for liking puns, and then
Anyway, I love you.
I love you.
Anyway, back to if you can't drink the water, if you can't swim in the water and you can't eat the fish that live in the water, you probably want to have bottled water for all your drinking and cooking needs. And those of you who, I'm one of them, who likes to take a long hot shower, think about this while you're taking that long hot shower. All that fish poop they didn't filter out of that water, your pores are opening up while you're showering, so you may be absorbing fish poop into your system. Just saying. Anyway.
I'm going to get back to
your yarn. We've digressed enough, I think.
We're going to go into some very stressful moments. So, if you don't know already, I have an affinity. Is that the right word? I don't know what the right word is. I really, really, really like Beatrice Rubio as a human, and I love her patterns, and I love test knitting for her. And I have no need to test knit anything. It is not a necessity in my life, will never be a necessity. However, I used to be a designer, and I know how hard it is to get test knitters to test for you, and how hard it is to get feedback from the test knitters, especially feedback you can use. And so I like test knitting for her because she doesn't make it a difficult process. She's very kind about it. She doesn't have an expectation that is unrealistic. And so I've test knit a lot for her. In fact, on Google Photos, my finished object for my first test knit for her, the Brahui, I don't know if that's how you say it, but that sweater, it came up in my Google Photos as a 2-year anniversary this week. So that means that I've been test knitting for her for 2 years now. But she came out with a new pattern and asked for testers, and so I signed up and I was approved. And the pattern calls for either a light fingering or a lace weight yarn, and wanted a gauge of 33 stitches per 4 inches for the stitch gauge. I can't remember the row gauge. I did not hit row gauge, but it took me a lot to get the stitch gauge. So the first yarn that I tried was a lace weight Shibui Lunar.
Shibui, isn't that a cool name? Shibui.
Yeah, they closed. They're no longer in business. But
oh man, never mind. Forget about Shibui.
But I cast on in this yarn, and I only did this much because I then tested the gauge, and it is so far off. Like,
was that Venta? Was that Venta? Who makes Shibui?
No, I don't know. It was Shibui that makes Shibui.
Oh, I know Venta quit doing yarn, so.
But I was gonna make this as a gift for Michelle, who is the mother of the little girls you just saw earlier.
She's our new daughter.
And
Josh's wife.
And I decided that 2 things. One, I'm off on gauge, so I'm going to have to start over. And you need to know that someone loves olive green before you make them an olive green t-shirt. I love olive green, but that doesn't mean everybody loves olive green.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, we'll try a different color. So I asked Jim for his opinion, and I decided to cast on with this yarn.
Isn't that beautiful? I love that.
And this is Hedgehog Fibres in the deep end colorway, and I love this. Unfortunately, my gauge is so far off that it's the perfect size for me. So,
Michelle is a dainty young lady.
yeah, she is not my size.
That would wrap around and you could put it around the back and it come to the front. So, yeah, we're not doing that.
This is not her size. So,
too bad.
So this, I knit, it said I had, I did a gauge swatch. Because of my issues with this one, I did a gauge swatch, and my gauge swatch was correct. So then I cast on the right number of stitches. I knit it to almost, I think, the end of the first section, to where I was ready to start the back side, and blocked it so that I could make sure I was still on gauge. Blocked it, dried it, measured it. I'm massively off on gauge. In fact, this has a gauge of 24 stitches per 4 inches. I'm supposed to have 33. So this,
just a tad bit.
This got put away. And so then I decided to switch to this yarn, which is a, no, can you, there, that's perfect. That is the exact color. This is a yarn by Toad Hollow, Mary Beth, and I can't think of her name. The 2 sisters at Toad Hollow. I can't remember the name of the color. I probably should tell you that, huh? The name of the color is the Mad Hatter. And this is their Sock Toad. It's from their Alice collection. But I cast it on, or not cast on, I just did a gauge swatch. So I did a gauge swatch. But in this case, I did the gauge swatch using a US 1. And I did better than 24. I got it down to 30. I got to 30 stitches per 4 inches. But I need 33. So I ripped that out. And then I cast on thinking with Holst Coast. And I'm using a US 0. And I'm like, okay, on a US 0, this'll work. I'll get gauge. No, I did not. But I love the fabric. So this probably, I might use it. I might actually make a sweater. So I didn't rip it out because it's a beautiful fabric and I can make something else with it. Just not today. So then I now have done 4 different tries and failed. So I went back to my stash and I knew I had lace weight. But the lace weight that I knew I had was a single. And I don't want to knit a single into a sweater because it's going to pill right away. Guaranteed. So, I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I found in Deep Stash, and this is Deep Stash because this came with me from Wyoming. And this is from when I used to sell hand-dyed yarn. And it is 100 grams of lace weight Knit Picks gloss lace. So
she's explaining this to me like I know what she's talking about. I think she's looking at me and talking to you. That's what I think.
I'm doing both. So I cast it on. I did the back, finished the back, picked up the stitches for the front, and I am in process of knitting the front. I do need the front to be the same distance, so I don't know, what'd you say? I have 1.5 inches probably.
Yeah, ish.
And then I can try it on Michelle and knit in the round, but I'm not going to knit on the round until I try it on Michelle. What I have decided, and Michelle doesn't know yet, but she might if she watches this, I am going to ask her if she wants me to keep it white, because I have seen her wear a lot of white tops, so she may prefer that. Or, if she would prefer, I can dye it in her favorite color. Or, if she would prefer, we can have a dye day with the girls, and the girls can dye with Nana and play with the colors and help make the sweater for their mom. I'm thinking she's going to go with option 3. But she may prefer the white because we are in Austin and white is a nice light color that doesn't get as hot.
But it does get stains real easy.
Yeah,
And when you have kids, stains happen.
So I'm very happy that I am successful finally in getting the right gauge. But if you look, it is nice and light fabric.
It is. It's a nice fabric.
So, that is my next whip and all of the struggles to get there. I want to talk about that book real quick. Mixing it up. I listened to no, that's not it.
Which one?
I listened to The Fourth Wing.
Is that the one that got all the sex in it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I listened to The Fourth Wing. It's by Rebecca Yarros. And I would have given this book 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, whatever. It would have been one of my favorite books. Except halfway through the book they threw in sex and they kept throwing it in. And it just wasn't necessary to be graphic in order to be a good book. But from what I understand, in order to sell books nowadays, they need that content. I don't know why, but I really don't need pictures. I don't.
There's a lot of that happening in. So,
if you have issues with graphic, don't even start the book. If you like high fantasy and you don't mind content that is graphic, The Fourth Wing is a good choice.
Or if you just want to fast forward through the graphic, it's hard to do with an audiobook. With a print book or an ebook, you can at least scan and keep. Nope. There we go. No more. But with the audiobook, you got to.
It was really hard. I had to skip forward, and then I didn't know if I missed a whole bunch of important stuff or not. But it was just. I wish that it hadn't. I wish I had never started it. To be honest, I'm glad I found out what happened. There's more books. It didn't end. It left a cliffhanger. I won't ever know what that cliffhanger ends up to be because I won't ever listen. If you like it and you end up reading like the whole series or whatever, send me a message and let me know how the whole series ends.
Send her the cliff notes without the sex.
Because I don't want to read or listen. But the next book that I listened to during my week off was The Lost for Words Bookshop, I think. Yeah, it's The Lost for Words Bookshop. And it's by Stephanie Butland. But the narrator was so good. And I don't I want to say Rosie Shed, but there is a knitting podcaster on YouTube. She used to be more frequent. Haven't seen her a lot. Like, she comes and goes, but she also has her own hand-dyed yarn, which I think is Rosie Shed, but she's out of the UK. And if I didn't know better, I would swear that it was her telling that story, which made it even better for me. I don't know how to make that make sense, but I'm warning, without giving any information about the story, I cried a lot.
She did. A lot. I was worried.
Like, I cried so much that I had a headache the next day from all the crying. And I cried a lot for sad and for happy and for scared and for... But to me, the judge of a really good book is a book that lets me feel. And that book had me in my feels so much. But there is another book by the same author, and it's another book about the same bookshop. So I will probably, when I have another credit, I will probably get the next book in line. I do not remember who recommended it, because it was recommended a really long time ago. I want to say that it might have been the ladies from Cocktail Hour at the Coop, because they do a lot of reading. But I'm super glad that I read that, and I can't recommend it enough. I think that it was really well written. There was no graphic content whatsoever, but some really hard subjects without making them graphic. Like, you knew some really heavy stuff happened without knowing the details. And I just think that's really a classy book. Just a really well... Like, we don't need pictures to tell us the story. We know, if somebody has sex, you can just tell us they had sex. We don't need to know how it went down. And if somebody is killed, you can just tell us that somebody was killed. We don't need graphics to tell us how it went down. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I started the next one, which is The Lost Ranger, or The Last Ranger. Don't remember the author. I can't get into it. It's boring the living daylights out of me. Like, I literally fell asleep.
JDI Rosal.
JDL Roselle, I don't know. It's the same narrator, so I know it's not the narrator's fault. But I just didn't. Thank you, but no thank you. Alright. My next whip is another failure. And this time it's a failure to read instructions. Which is not a surprise if you know me. So Liz from the Black Knitter is hosting a Juneteenth make-along. Can be knit, crochet. You get an entry if you use a pattern by a black maker. You get an entry if you use yarn by a black maker. You get an entry if you use a project bag by a black maker. You get an entry if you use stitch markers by a black maker. The whole purpose is to celebrate black makers and to help black makers in our community get sales, because Juneteenth is a celebration of black liberation. It exists because white folks refuse to stop keeping slaves.
Yep.
And
in Texas.
And so I helped host her cast-on party that was virtual. She had a in-person one at her local yarn shop, Harps and Thistles in Ohio. And we did a virtual cast-on party, and one of the attendees came away with some willy-nilly knits yarn, which was beautiful. So that it was just a lot of fun. And I cast on a hat called the Lucky Hat Wrap by Safiyyah Talley. It's a beautiful hat. However, it's supposed to be knit in Aran weight yarn, and I used DK weight yarn, and not even close to the gauge I'm supposed to be getting, not even kind of close in row gauge that I'm supposed to be getting. And I was like, well, I'll just modify it and make it work. And then I realized this is a construction I've never done in my entire life. I cannot modify this because I don't know how it's supposed to be made or what needs modified. And so it's going to be frogged because I messed it up severely. So then I realized, well, but I really want to make something for the Juneteenth make-along. So this morning, while someone was still asleep, I got out my Woolyknit British wool. This is cinnamon color, 4-ply. And my Spincycle dyed into wool. This was a special colorway for Hill Country Weavers. I do not remember the colorway, but I know they created the yarn for one of their retreat during COVID, during lockdown. They did a virtual retreat instead of a physical retreat, and this was the yarn that was dyed for that retreat. And so I cast it on this morning. I do not have very much started, but I cast on the Trilogy top. It's a pattern by Tamy Gore, and it's been in my queue pretty much since it was released. So sorry about the reflection and the whatever, but maybe I'll put a picture and cover up this weirdness. But
I love you.
I love you too. The pattern uses fingering weight. It has a gauge of 24 stitches per 4 inches, which would clearly know I am capable of doing 24 stitches per 4 inches on fingering weight yarn. So I cast on the pattern, and I'm doing the ribbing. It does not call for a provisional or crochet cast on, but like I said about this sweater, I like knowing that I can come back and either bind off or come back and knit more ribbing, or do you know what I mean? Like, I like knowing I have control over the neckband because I've just been burnt way too many times. So I'm currently using a US 3, and I'll move to a US 4 when I go into the straight knitting. And then when I'm doing my color work, I will move to a US 5 because I do tend to do color work tighter than it should be. And by going up a needle size, that'll keep my color work laying flat without buckling. So that's my intent, and that's how the pattern's written, so it's just a win-win all the way around. I do not believe that I will finish the Trilogy in time because the mal ends on July 3rd, and I really am putting most of my energy into this, but when I need a break from this, I'm gonna pick up this, and when I need a break from these, my goal is to pick up the crochet.
You got any more yarny shit?
Yeah, one more. Just one more, though.
Well, we did not mention it at the beginning, but yesterday was our granddaughter Abigail's birthday. We tried to talk to her, but it did not work out in our favor. So if you happen to see this, Abigail, we wish you a happy birthday.
Love you so, so, so much and miss you very, very much.
But we made something awesome yesterday. We were supposed to make it a couple days ago, but I just wasn't up to it. Haven't been getting very much rest at all. But we made lasagna. And when we make lasagna, we make a homemade meat sauce and we make homemade lasagna noodles. Because Papa makes sheet noodles. So they are the length of the lasagna pan, and depending on which lasagna pan you use, somewhere between 3/4 and half the width of the lasagna pan. So they're big noodles, but they're fresh noodles. And I am here to tell you the difference between fresh noodles and dried noodles that you buy in the store is the difference between eating grits and corn on the cob. They're both corn products. They're not anywhere close to the same. So
True.
Homemade pasta.
Your
Homemade pasta is
turned
great.
out so good, and
And
it was what I loved the most is it was a team effort. It was not a I make this or you make this. We both put our together. We ended up making the meal, and that was nice. We do not do well doing things together. We are not meant to. Do not come to us and say, hey, could the two of you build this for us? That is not a good plan.
Here's an IKEA thing with instructions. Can you guys put it together? Somebody's already mentioned that they are allergic to instructions. Somebody else believes that my time is too valuable to not follow the instructions.
Yes, but it goes beyond that. It's not just, it goes so far beyond that.
We have very different ways of accomplishing the same
everything. Pretty much everything. I love him to pieces, but we cannot clean together. It's not.
Nope.
It's a recipe for make everybody on the planet mad. Put us together and clean. Here, go clean this together. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, I only have one more knitting thing to talk about, but then I have a couple of things I want to mention. So, we were talking about fails, and I ripped it out so you can't see what I did, but I tried to do a hung hem where you fold it over and you knit it down so that it becomes a hung hem like that. And I do not know what I did wrong. I don't understand at all what the malfunction was, but it was such a bad fail. Like I had an extra stitch. It was nightmarish. I tried it again, same fail, not same issue, but failed again. And it to the point where I went, you know what? This is not going to have a hung hem. It's just not. I'm going to add ribbing in a totally different yarn, and it will have ribbing instead of a hung hem. Oh, and this is the same dyer, TalyaInLove, and this skein I actually won in a giveaway from her podcast some time ago. I haven't seen her of late, so maybe if you can, go over to TalyaInLove and watch one of her older podcasts and just give her some love from the community. I know it's been a real struggle. She's been spending as much time as she can volunteering to help remotely and help with any of the people who are refugees. So, I don't know. Wouldn't hurt to give some views over to that channel and show some love. Anyway, the only other thing I have is it's Pride Month, and I thought a lot about whether I was going to have this conversation, and I want to have this conversation. I have never been beaten up because I'm a white girl. I've been beaten up, don't get me wrong. I've been beaten up lots in my life. Beaten up because I had buck teeth. Beaten up because they thought I was ugly. Beaten up because I was little. Beaten up because I didn't have good clothes as a kid. I wore hand-me-downs and hand-me-down shoes. They were too big. Got beaten up for that. But I've never been beaten up because I was a white, straight female. But I've seen a lot of people beaten up because they were gay. Beaten up because they were trans. I've seen people lose their jobs because their employer found out they were gay. I've seen people thrown out of their homes from their parents because they told their parents they were gay. Pride is about standing up and saying we matter and we belong here and we're not going to hide anymore. And it's a celebration of the LGBT community, but it's also a freedom cry because they haven't had the freedom to be themselves in this country, and they still don't have the freedom to be themselves in this country in many, many communities. And instead of moving forward, there's a political party in this country right now that's trying to take us way the hell backwards. And if you're one of those people who thinks that that's a good idea or thinks that it's okay, please peace out. You're welcome to your opinions, you're welcome to your ideas, but I don't need your viewership. I don't.
Remember that people are people. It doesn't matter if they are in agreement with what you think their life should be. They're not trying to control your life. Mind your own business.
They're not asking you to be gay or to agree with their lifestyle in any way. They're just asking for the right to live, the right to not be killed, the right to have a job, the right to have someone to love.
Don't get spun up, bubbies.
Oh, anyway. So, now you know how I feel. So,
Tomorrow, Sunday is Father's Day, so to all you fathers out there, happy Father's Day.
To all the mothers being fathers, happy Father's Day.
And to all the guys that are filling in the position but aren't,
happy
Father's Day to you too.
And to all the fathers who aren't able to see their kids, aren't able to be with their kids, my heart goes out to you.
And if we have any soldiers that actually view this, thank you for your service and happy Father's Day. And I hope your kids are well. And I hope you get to see them.
That's all I got.
That's the great thing about Skype and video calls and all that goodness is it's not like when I was in the service. When I was in the service, when you were gone for 6 months, you were gone for 6 months. Unless you happened to go someplace that actually had a telephone and an English-speaking operator. And then you could make an international call, and you could either have a stack of quarters, which you went through pretty damn quick, or you would have that tacked onto your phone bill, and found out really quickly the best way to go is the stack of quarters. Because the stack of quarters, you run out of money, you run out of fun. And just getting attacked on your phone bill, you just keep talking and you wind up having a phone bill from hell going, oh! You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember those days.
So,
I mean,
but now,
even within the states, calling long distance in the states, you could rack up some.
now you have the ability to do video calls on your phone. You can do Skype. You can do Zoom. You can do so many different things. FaceTime. So it's much better. You still not there, but at least you can call home and see your kids, and they can see you. And
It's way better.
it's a lot better than it used to be. But happy Father's Day, dads, and not dads that are doing dad's job. Happy Father's Day to you.
And if it's the first year without your son or your daughter, my heart goes out to you.
But that's all I got.
That's all I got, I think.
Okay.
There will be some links down below for things to donate to or things you can do in activism to make a difference if you want. That's all I got.
Okay.
Have a good day. Papa! I see it! Papa!